What up, what up? How's everybody doing? It's Julian Gordon here. What up, what up, what up? How you feeling? Let me know if you were in the building. It is a snowy day here in New York. New York, New York. I'm at the home office today. And I had a quick little lunch breakthrough that I wanted to share with you. So give me a shout out if you were here. Let me know what you're eating for lunch. Let me know what you were eating for lunch today. What up, Steven? How you doing, brother? Good to see you. You always get notified ASAP. Who else is here? Who else is here? Gotta wait for the audience. Share this with your colleagues, with your friends. Let them know we about to go in. Real quick, before you eat lunch, if you haven't already left the office yet, or if you are free, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur, it's important to take lunch. I don't know what I'm eating today because it's snowing, and we ain't got food at the house, so I gotta go find some food. Trent, what's up? What's up, Rich? It's good to see y'all. I'm glad Facebook is notifying these good people. What are you eating for lunch today? Comment below. What are you eating for lunch today? I gotta go find food in the snow. Wasn't planning on that. Woke up and heard the salt trucks coming by and was like, it's about to come down, and it's coming down pretty thick. Cool, we're gonna start here in just a second. Let me share this really quick. Share. I got a new framework for y'all that I know is going to blow your mind. I'm going to talk about the 3 ways to get money. There's only 3 ways to really get money. 3 core ways. There's some other ways that I won't discuss today. But there's only 3 ways to get money. So I'm going to share today. Who else is here? Who else is here? Let me know where you're from and what you're eating for lunch today. This is the lunch breakthrough, so let's talk about some good food. Give me some ideas. I need to figure out what I'm going to eat. I'm going to go truck through the snow to find some food today because we are in New York. All right, we're going to get started. So this is a lunch breakthrough. This is something new. Trying it out. Hope you feel it. I hope it impacts you and changes the direction of your day and your life. But as I said in the comments or the title, money won't make you free, but this will. So I'm going to share with you what this is. You know, a lot of times, and for myself included, when I was growing up, I thought that it was all about having the highest paying job. That the highest paying job was the key to success. I've come way further than that now. I know that having the highest paying job won't necessarily guarantee your freedom. And there's this thing called what I call and have named the Overpaid Trap. It's called the Overpaid Trap. I know that sounds crazy because there's so many people out there who feel underpaid, but there's also a thing called the Overpaid Trap, and I'm going to break it down for you. So dating is usually the easiest way to break it down. And imagine that you are dating, and you are dating a guy or girl that is below what you know you're actually capable of, right? When you know that somebody is below you, then your ability or openness to actually leaving that relationship is a lot easier, right? Because you know you can go get better, right? So you have more tolerance, or less tolerance, because you know you can leave and get better. Some people stay stuck in relationships like that, and that's where people feel underpaid, right? But there's also such thing as the overpaid trap, right? And you let me know if you feel underpaid or you feel overpaid. And maybe your colleagues are on, so maybe you don't want to comment. I don't know. Because I talk about some sensitive things. I'm all about freedom, right? And all of you are freedom finders. And so sometimes those conversations aren't as easy to have in social media where you got people watching you, right? Uncle Sam or what do they say? The man. I don't know who they say is watching you. Somebody's watching you. Hey, what's up, Brian? How you doing, brother? Oh, you having Giordano? Ooh, that is my favorite slice of pizza. Well, my second favorite slice of pizza. There's actually a spot here in Brooklyn that I love called Daddy Green's, but Giordano's is definitely number two. So, back to the task at hand. Overpay trap, right? Overpay trap is when an employer is actually paying you more than you believe you deserve. When an employer is paying you more than you believe you deserve. Watch how this happens, because this is crazy. An employer is paying you more than you believe you deserve, right? So when that happens, right, an employer is paying you, let's say, $75 an hour when you break it down in terms of your salary or whatnot, and you only believe that you could command $50 an hour on your own, or that's what you believe you're worth, then what are the chances of you leaving when you know you're actually overpaid? It's very little. It's very little because, and oftentimes people get stuck in jobs like this because they got this high-paying job after law school or after their MBA, and they're afraid that if they go back out into the marketplace, that they would only be able to find something that they love that's going to pay them less. So they actually get stuck in the job that they don't want to be in. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? And so, from a dating standpoint, that's like saying, you are dating, this is for a guy example, and all of a sudden you meet Halle Berry, and Halle Berry is now your partner, right? And you believe that this is the flyest partner that you could possibly ever get on the face of the earth. Even if Halle Berry is abusive to you, what are your chances of leaving if you believe that that is the best that you can get? You don't leave. You don't leave. You end up staying in something simply because you believe that you couldn't go out there and get something better. So the same thing happens with the overpaid trap, right? Where somebody, a lot of us, all my friends, smart, talented people, went to good schools, got good degrees, hardworking. These employers see it. They see us as these balls of clay that they can shape into whatever it is that they want, and you get overpaid. And especially if you're coming out of college, just straight out of college, law school, MBA, and whatnot, for many people, this is the biggest check that they've ever seen. Somebody values me at $100,000, at $80,000, $60,000. Somebody values me at that level. Nobody's ever valued me in a monetary way like that before. And so what happens is we feel like we are in a relationship where we can't leave because we're actually overpaid. And so you got to really be careful. This is why Dave Chappelle decided to dip out when he got that deal, and it was for $50 million, because he knew that if he signed that deal, right, he would be quote unquote overpaid, and he would actually become a slave to the people who were paying him. Are y'all getting this? Are y'all getting this? I'm all about you being free, and so I just had to break this down. So given that, I want to shift into you understanding a little bit about money. Money will not make you free, right? But these two things that I'm going to share with you actually will. See, there's a lot of people who have tons of savings in their bank account, right? But they save it out of fear. They save it out of fear. And guess what? They're going to die with that money in their bank account. And that's okay, right? And I do believe that you should have an emergency fund. But even despite the fact that they might have a crap load of money saved in their bank account, they still don't feel free to be who they are. And the way I define freedom is the ability to be your whole self at all times, right? They still don't feel that they can go do what they love despite this stack of money in their bank account, right? And so it's not actually that having money that makes you feel free. What actually makes you feel free, one of the things that makes you feel free, this is the first thing I'm going to share, is actually the ability to create money when you want to, and the awareness of your self-worth. That's what actually causes you to be free. When, regardless if your bank account is zero, right, that you feel and know that I have a gift, talent, strength, or skill that I can offer to the world, and I can go create and command and demand money as a result of this skill set or this subject mastery that I have, right? Remember, I've talked about the path to freedom. The path to freedom is fourfold. First is self-mastery. That's knowledge of self. Who am I, right? What are my gifts, talents, strengths, and skills? Then there is skill mastery, right? That's your domain expertise in one or two subjects or fields, right? or skills. And then there is a mastermind. This is who you know and who knows you. This is your networks up, down, across, and out. And then finally, there is money mastery. And so if you compare two people, you compare somebody who has $100,000 saved in the bank, but is saving that out of fear, right? I do believe you should have an emergency fund, but saves it primarily out of fear. They never spend it, and they're just trying to stack up this pile of money. See, it's not money that we really want, right? Though that's what we've been chasing. It's not money that we really want. I remember the cartoons of Scrooge McDuck diving into gold coins. First and foremost, you cannot dive into gold coins, first and foremost, okay? And secondly, we don't want what money is, because all it is paper, and it is coin, and it's metal. That's all it is. That's not what we want. What we really want is what we think money can get us. And oftentimes, there are more direct, faster ways to get what we want than just trying to make as much money as possible. Okay? So that's first and foremost. Okay? So what are the three ways that you can actually get money? I'm going to break this down into a framework, right? These are all about frameworks for freedom. And the first way to get money, which I would say about 85, can y'all see this? Yeah, y'all can see this. I would say about 85% of the world pursues is E, an employer. Having an employer, right? That is, let me see, I'm trying to check out some of the comments. Cool. So first is an employer. And we've been sold this narrative that having employment is a secure and safe way to get money. But the reality is, in this particular economic environment, that there is no loyalty. There is no guarantee that that organization is going to keep you, right? This idea of the 40-year, what I call the 40-40 club, which is working for 40 years, 40 hours a week for one company, the 40-40 club is closed. It is officially closed. If nobody informs you, do not go there because it is now closed, okay? That notion no longer exists. It may have worked for our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation. It is not working for us, okay? So employer is one way to get money. And this is cool. You get not only get a salary, you might get a 401k. For some of you, if your employer is archaic enough, you still might get a pension and things of that nature. But the model has changed, right? So that's one way to get money is through an employer. Now, here's the funny thing that I got to break down for y'all. When you get, or it's almost tax season, and when you have to pay your taxes, what do they call the money that you get from your employer? What do they call that money? They call it your income tax. They call it your income tax. But is that really income? When you look at the business definition of income, the business definition of income is actually revenues minus expenses equals income. So what you're actually getting from your employer is not income. You are getting revenues from your employer, right? So your salary is not income, because income is what you have left over at the end of the month. It's not what you get paid at the beginning and the middle of the month. And so what happens is people think their salary is income, but it's really not, because your income, your real income, if you are in this domain of getting your money primarily from an employer, your real income is your salary minus all of your living expenses equals your income. This is your real income right here. This is your real income. Your salary, whatever's left over at the end of the month. That's what this is. Whatever's left over at the end of the month after you've gotten your 2 checks and you paid all your bills, this is your real income. This is the same for a business. In a business, this is individual and this is a business. This is a business, right? Business, revenues minus expenses equals income. Individual salary minus their living expenses equals their income. But we call our salary income, but it's not. It's not even close to our income. Okay? So I got to break this down because this is key. Because the IRS, the federal government, is going to tax an individual on what? You get taxed on your salary. They call it an income tax, but they don't say, oh yeah, subtract and deduct your rent or your mortgage and all these other things. Yeah, you might get some sort of deduction for that, but they don't say take off all your living expenses and then we'll tax you on what's left at the end. No, An individual gets taxed on their salary, whereas a business gets taxed on their income after expenses. So we have to be very careful with language. What you get paid, your salary, is not income. That I want you to start calling your revenues. That is actually your revenues. Your income, whether it's you and someone else living together, your income is what you have left over at the end of the month. And so what happens is, what happens for people is that they start getting paid, they start making money, and their salary rises, and they think, oh, my income is rising. No, your income is not rising, because guess what? For individuals, oftentimes when their salary rises, they're like, oh, I can get a bigger house, I can get a bigger car, I can start eating out more, and their expenses rise. When your salary and your expenses rise, guess what? Your income does not change as an individual. You're like, oh, yeah, I just got a pay raise, and so now we can go get that car. We can add on more debt, more liability. And so your salary may have risen, but if your cost of living also rises, then your income does not rise. So we just got to really be clear about this in order to get free. On top of this, I want you to be clear that if you primarily make money through an employer, which is perfectly fine, I don't know if it's going to necessarily lead to your freedom, but it's perfectly fine to do it if you're willing to trust that your employer is going to support you and care for you and have your best interest in mind. Then know that you get taxed the highest in this when you get your money in this way. You get taxed at the highest rate when you get your money this way. This is why Warren Buffett said his tax rate is actually lower than his secretary's, because she primarily gets her money in this way. Okay, this is salary, 401k, pension, etc. Okay, now the second way to get money, right, is actually C, and that is go get some customers. You can get an employer or you can get customers, right? So getting customers means that you're probably an entrepreneur, right? And about 10% of people fall into this bucket. They're saying, I don't need an employer. I know my value. I know my worth in the marketplace. I know my skills. I know my subject mastery. I'm actually going to go get my own customers, right? As an employee, you're helping an employer get customers, right? But as an entrepreneur, you can say, I'm going to go get my own customers. Now, here I have to reveal to you something about entrepreneurship, because a lot of people or the brand of entrepreneurship that's out there is that entrepreneurship will make you free. You have all this time freedom, you have financial freedom, etc. One, it's hard to create a business. It's hard to make money, right? And find a market. I won't say it's hard, but it takes work, right? And I'll be honest with you, when I started out as an entrepreneur, while I was working harder for myself than I had ever worked for anyone in my life, I actually became a workaholic when I stepped into entrepreneurship. So while I did have the freedom to choose my schedule, I chose to fill my schedule up with work, because I didn't have this quote-unquote security, which isn't really security, or this consistency of rations from an employer every 2 weeks. And so, but I have a unique situation in that, one, I come from 2 doctors. And so, given how many hours they worked a week, that was like instilled in me. They would go to work at the crack of dawn. They would come back late in the evening. They would be on call. They would work on weekends. So I kind of adopted and inherited that, right? So that was the first thing. The second thing is that I started my company on January 9th, 2009. And if you've seen the S&P 500 over the past 75 years, it went something like this, and then this right here is where I started my company, at the worst point in the past 75 years of the economic history of the S&P 500. So all the stock market tickers were red, and I started my company in economic scarcity. And so what did that do for me? It actually caused me to overwork, to work extremely hard, work long hours, to burn myself out, to put work ahead of friends and relationships, and it cost me in a lot of ways. And so entrepreneurship, right off the bat, does not guarantee that you will be free. I just want to make that clear. I don't want to deceive anybody, like, yeah, just go start a company, you'll be good. No, I want to be very honest with you about what it takes to actually create a company. In fact, not even create a company, actually just go get customers. take to actually go get customers on your own. A lot of people have got an LLC, they got a domain, they got a website, they got business cards, and they think they're a company, but you don't become a company until you actually get customers. Okay, so that's the number 2 way to actually get money, right? You can work for an employer to help them get customers, or you can just go get customers on your own. Now, when you operate in this way, you actually are here, so you get taxed on your real income, not what they call your salary. You get taxed after the expenses. So I make, let's say I make $100,000 here. I make $100,000 here, and then I have $30,000 in expenses. I get taxed on $70K. Whereas if this person makes $100,000, who's an employee, right, and they still have their living expenses are 50K, then they don't get taxed on 50K, they get taxed on 100, whereas I got taxed on 70 because I had my own business, right? And I was able to write off my home office part of it, right? Write off part of my home office, write off certain things that would be that were related to my business, right? I could reduce my tax liability in that way. So you can, in this realm, you can get cash from running a business. If this is a business you run directly, or your business can be about helping other businesses get customers, right? It could be about you getting customers to sell your product or service, or it could be about you helping other businesses get customers. But they all fit into this domain. In fact, Facebook, their business model is helping other businesses get customers. When you see Facebook ads and sponsored posts and things of that nature, they're helping other businesses get customers, right? And so this one will lead to more freedom, right? And this is why I'm on this particular path. But here, in the employer standpoint, you're working hard. You work extremely hard for others, right? If you create $2 million in value for your employer, and your salary is $100,000, you get no benefit in the upside, and that is the cost you pay for the security that you think you're getting, right? You get paid $100,000 even if you created $2 million in value. Even if you found a leak in the sales pipeline or you closed a big client, you're still going to get that $100,000 with maybe a little bonus at the end, right? Whereas here, you get to benefit in the upside, but you also have to bear the downside, right? If your company is going south, you got to deal with that. If it goes up, you get to benefit from it. Here, if it goes up, you get capped out at $100,000. But if it goes down, you're still at $100,000. Here, you only have to be average, right? You don't have to show up every single day, you know? You could be on the internet, but as long as you stay in the middle and you don't fall to the bottom in terms of your team, you could probably stay here for as long as you want. Here, you got to show up every day. So you are working hard work for self and your customers. Right? So a lot of people think that when they're an entrepreneur, they actually become free and they don't work for anybody, right? They don't have a boss anymore. But guess what? The formula showing up backwards. Thanks for letting me know. Well, that's what it's going to be today, and I'm going to have to figure that out next time. Okay? Cool. So here, people oftentimes jump from here to here because they're like, oh, I don't want to work for anybody. But guess what? When you become an entrepreneur, many people get trapped in becoming having more than one boss. Here you had one boss, right, as an employee. Here you had one boss. Here, if you are focused as an entrepreneur, you might have 10 bosses because your customers sometimes become your boss if you don't manage them right. If you don't manage your customers right, you actually have 12 bosses instead of one. And then on top of that, you may be your own worst boss because you drive yourself like a slave driver, right? And that's what I did. I'm guilty of that. I drove myself into the ground when I started my company because I was, sleep when you're dead. Yeah, I work harder than everybody else. I sleep, like these kind of narratives that I adopted when I stepped into entrepreneurship. So I stepped into entrepreneurship, but I didn't feel free because I was just constantly working, right? So I want to give you the final, I want to show you the final way to get money, which is assets. A for assets. And I know the formula is showing up backwards. Apologies for that. Let me make this bigger. A for assets. Okay? Assets whereas these require hard work for others, hard work for self, assets require a lot less work. Assets are basically where your money is working for you, right? So if you have money in a savings account, yes, cash is an asset. It is a current asset according to economic standards, but it is not working for you if it's in a savings account. And I want my money to constantly be in circulation and to be constantly working for me on my behalf, right? And so I want to get to a point where, yes, I have my emergency fund, and beyond my emergency fund, I don't want anything else in my savings account, because that bank, who probably doesn't have my best interest in mind, is just going to go out there and loan it to other people and make tons of money off of my money because it was just sitting there, right? So at the bare minimum, I want to have my emergency fund, but when I get to my best self, right, when I get to my fearless, most free self, I'm going to have my emergency fund in the bank account, and that's it. That's it, because all my money is going to be in circulation, directed towards people, products, ideas that I believe in. That's how you create economy. And is there a risk there? Yes, there's risk there when all your money is in play. But my goal isn't to stack up the biggest pile. My goal is to actually make sure that I see money as energy, and I want to make sure that the people, projects, and ideas that I believe in have that energy if I can support them and I believe in them, right? And I foresee a particular return. So an asset requires less work. And here's the thing, based on the tax codes being written by the richest people in our country at that time, and still managed by them, money created through this vein actually has the lowest tax rate. Lowest tax rate. Lower tax rates than even entrepreneurial income, and lower tax rates than income from working from your W-2. Right? Of course, the rich people just wrote that into the law for themselves. These people can't get land and real estate and other things like that. And so let's just make sure that we get a break for funding the infrastructure of our country. Okay? And so this is why it's interesting. So the things that fit into this category, a lot of people think that their house is an asset. Your house is not an asset. Robert Kiyosaki taught me this in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Your house can be an asset, but originally it's not an asset, because an asset is something that puts money into your pockets. Right? For 30 years, a house takes money outside of your pockets. Right? And so I've seen a lot of my friends get trapped in the single family home white picket fence dream. They bought a house, and as a result of buying a house, they actually end up stuck in a job that they hate. You know, I tell this in a funny way to employers when I speak at corporations. I'm like, look, if you want to retain people, go help them buy a house that's bigger than they can afford. You'll have them for 30 years. And I say that jokingly because I want you to realize that buying a home that is bigger than you can afford, it's a huge decision. A mortgage is a huge decision, and a mortgage can actually trap you in a job that you hate. And so I just want you to be really clear. Like, I held off as long as I possibly could until I got into my lane, until I started making revenues in this lane before I bought a home. And now I have 2 homes. I have one on the East Coast, and I have one on the Gulf Coast, and they're all multi-family homes. This is a 3-family home that I'm in. I have a 2-family, and my next aim is West Coast, right? My next aim is the West Coast and be tri-coastal. I know a lot of people talk about being bi-coastal. I'm going to be tri-coastal in a short amount of time, right? But because I bought multi-family homes, guess what? My homes pay me. My homes pay me. So my homes are assets, whereas a lot of my friends' homes and people I know, their homes are not assets at this moment in time. Once they pay them off, they'll be assets, but at this moment in time, they're not assets, right? So an asset is something that pays you. So income property can fit here, income property. And even if it's breaking even, right, even if somebody else is just paying the mortgage, I still consider that an asset. Right? So let's say your mortgage for a home is $2,000 and it's a duplex and each side pays $1,000 in rent. Of course, there'll be other expenses for the home, but I consider that an asset. That's basically other people putting $2,000 into your bank account each month. Of course, you won't be able to reap from it until you sell the home or until the mortgage is paid off in 15 or 30 years, but that is an asset. Some other things that fit into this category is perhaps a product that you have. Product. information product. You know, this is why I really encourage not only you to take on these frameworks, but also to create your own and start teaching. If you saw my video on public education, check that out. Go to freeframeworks.com. That'll send you to our Facebook group so that you can see that video. But info products, or a product that actually sells without you. See, you can have a business, but here you're working in your business, right? In this column. In this column, right, in this lane, your business is working for you. So this is more, this doesn't cut off the video. So this is more like investment. Like, let's say you go get a franchise or something like that, and initially you're here with it. You're actually there every single day running the Chick-fil-A or whatever. But over time, because of your leadership, you actually move into a space where you don't have to be there every day. You hire management, you hire great employees, and you actually have an investment that is working and paying, working for you even when you're not there. And then you also have stocks and bonds. You have stocks and bonds, right? And then you have your savings account. But the thing about stocks and bonds is, for me, stocks is just a different form of gambling that people think is okay, right? You go ask people who's managing your money, they can't even name a person, right? It's tied up in some mutual fund that some big bank has decided what to do, right? So stocks and bonds is actually really risky for me. I'm not just going to give my money to somebody and hope that it is going to grow, right? So if you do have an asset, you kind of want to have some control over it, but not to a point where you actually have to be in it and managing it and watching it every single day. And that's what happens here, right? And then a savings account, it's not paying you anything. And so, yes, the cash may be an asset, but because of inflation, in comparison to the interest rate, that you're probably losing money by keeping it in the savings account. So that's what I wanted to share. So 2 ways to get free. Money alone will not get you free. The 2 things that will get you free are, 1, having more assets, right? Having some more assets that you have autonomy over, autonomous assets, let's call them that. And then secondly is, even if you have no money in your account, what makes you free is actually a mentality, which is knowing your self-worth, knowing your value, and believing that and knowing that you can actually go create money on demand when you need it, as opposed to storing it up because you're fearful that you might lose this job or this source of income, right? Not even income, it's a salary, right? We already broke that down. So this is the framework that I wanted to share. I know it's backwards, apologies for that, but the framework is ACE. You either have assets, you have and oh yeah, this is maybe 5%, and this is the 1% to the 5%. You have assets, customers, and employers. Those are the 3 ways to get money. The other main ways. The other ways are stealing it, inheritance, things of that nature, but we're not going to focus on those because you don't really have control over those, right? What you do have control over is how to shift your money and your mindset from getting money solely from employers to actually getting it directly from customers to actually moving it towards assets. So I hope that this was helpful. This is one of many frameworks that I have. I will continue to shoot videos like this. It looks like we had some good attendance at lunch, so I may continue to do more lunch breakthroughs. I don't really do Facebook Live in the evening because I want to be with my family at that time. So if lunch breakthroughs are working, maybe it's a breakfast breakthrough for West Coast people. But if lunch breakthroughs are working and this is where the energy is going to be at and where I can inspire you in the middle of your day, then I'm happy to do that. So let me know what you think about this. Please share it with anybody who you've had any money conversations with in the past or recently. Share it with your partner, your spouse, if you've been butting heads around money. Just share this as widely as you possibly can. If you want to get informed about the next live stream, make sure you go to freeframeworks.com. Freeframeworks.com. That'll forward you to our Facebook group called Frameworks for Freedom. And I'll just continue to share these frameworks that help you break free mentally first, right, and internally first, and then after that. I don't want freedom to just be at 5 o'clock or on Fridays. Freedom is not just about being at 5 o'clock or on Fridays. Freedom is your inheritance. It is, you deserve it. It is who we are meant to be, and we've been distracted and are running in this rat race. When if we just get off the treadmill, there are ways to be free without having to do everything that you have been doing. And as I get free and extricate myself from systems and ideas and beliefs and ways of being that don't serve me and that actually confine me, I'm just gonna share that with you. And normally I'll share it in the form of a framework so that it's memorable, that it can stick with you, and you can use it for the rest of your life. That's the powerful thing about frameworks, is that when you find a framework that sticks, like PEMDAS or 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or the 4 Agreements, right? These are all frameworks that have stuck with us, right? And so that's why I package my information into frameworks so that they stick with you, and that they can transform your life, and you can use them to make decisions in the moment. Okay? So with that, I want to say thank you so much. I wish you more and more freedom each and every day. Again, head over to freeframeworks.com. That's our Facebook group. It's private, closed group, so I will accept you as soon as you get in, and you'll get notified next time we do Facebook Live. So thank you so much. Much love to everyone, and time to go eat lunch. Peace.